T-minus 30 seconds.
Launch director on countdown 1. SpaceX Falcon Heavy, go for launch.
Falcon Heavy is configured for flight.
T-minus 15, standby for terminal count. 10, 9, 8.
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Princess Leia hairdo on. Check. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the last lecture of this class for you. How excited are you all about this last final lecture?
Ecstatic.
Extremely excited.
Nothing but the truth from you folks. I love it. All right. So let me go ahead and close that window. I'm going to crack open presentation here. I haven't opened it yet. I need to do that. All right. And let's go ahead and share. Flip this over. One important aspect of this, you'll notice, is the length of this presentation. Page 1 of 15. You got to feel pretty good about that too. All right. So The chapter in the book is called Selling the Layout. I'm calling it Selling the Project. All right. And if any of you happen to have cracked open the book prior to class and taken a peek at chapter 17, the final chapter of the book, right? You would have noted this, right? The objectives from the chapter. And they go something like this. Be able to develop an appropriate presentation highlighting the strengths of the layout, understand the weaknesses of the layout, be able to make adjustments to remedy the weaknesses. When I read that, I thought that's just what Eeyore would say. And that's about how Eeyore would say it. And then you get to the final chapter, paragraph of chapter 17. This is the last chapter of the entire book. And it says, plant layout projects are mostly fun. Except every project that's offered is enthusiasm. Do the best possible. You'll get big jobs sooner. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Sounds like Tigger. It's like it started with Eeyore and the book ends with Tigger. And a brief note here, programming note. You do see Walt Disney characters in my presentation. And it turns out the Walt Disney Company allows the use of their characters for fair use. I could use their images in a limited way to promote freedom of expression, and they offer it in connection with teaching at a not-for-profit public university. So these are offered to me as a prof by the Walt Disney Company. I wanted to give them credit. So anyway, that's chapter 17, sort of the alpha and the omega of it. But I'm going to hop up here. I'm thinking of this more along these lines, right? What is it we're attempting to do here? This really is focusing on the video presentation, the presentation that you are going to complete within the next few days, right? And this is kind of a reprise from the very first night when I went through the project. My gosh, 14 weeks ago, we had just finished Christmas and New Year's, for crying out loud. So this is the way I think about the presentation quality of your video, right? Would I hire you based on your project presentation? Would I evaluate Ferris State as a credible institution based upon your project presentation? Would a plant manager, AKA your future boss, be impressed with your project presentation? Remember, this video is basically your social media footprint to the world about what you've accomplished in this class. So if you could answer yes to all these questions, you are going to be in great shape with respect to scoring max points on this thing. But more typically, and this slide is almost, it's not in your book. This is a me slide, right? And this comes from a document that I've had like, gosh, 1986 maybe. How long have I had this? I mean, it's a mimeograph, right? It's a photocopy of a presentation material I got way back when I was fresh out of college. And what it comes from is from General Motors. General Motors, when I hired on, typically we had a typing pool. We would have projects. I would write reports. I'd bring these reports down in graph papers and pictures and drawings, and the typing pool would type them up. This is before word processors, right? Into a document. And then I was expected to present my material, whatever I was working on as an engineer. And this is what they wanted me to sort of my flight plan for General Motors corporate management when I was making a presentation. Things they wanted to know right up front: title of the work, who I was, because most people didn't know me. I was a fresh out, right? Why am I there? What's my affiliation? Why am I talking to them about this? Why is this work important? What is the motivation for my presenting them this and working on this in the first place? And were there other GM engineers or documents or information? Was there other related work? Have other things gone before me in the work that I'm presenting? And what am I bringing that's unique to this approach? What's the overall scope of the work? How was it performed? What were my results? Did I meet the objectives? I was going to run an experiment. Did the experiment pass or fail? And what's the next steps? Call to action. So this is, I'm sort of breaking this out sort of apart from, but inclusive of your video presentation, because the video presentation, you already have your flight plan. We'll talk about that in a second. But in general, when you're approaching any technical presentation, let's face it, all of you are about to become degreed engineers, right? Each one of you. So technical presentations are a part of your job moving forward, whether it be plant rearrangement, plant design, Kaizen events, all that stuff, right? As a technical presenter, little guy in the lab coat down here, this bullet list is something that you can utilize in your career moving forward. How do you structure what you're going to talk about, right? Now, this is not a bad way of thinking about how to structure your video presentation for the class. Let me go here. Because, right, you don't want to be talking from point 1, then point 2, then point 3, then point 4, then point 5. You don't want to be doing that, right? If the last sentence you say in your video presentation is, and the space requirements are 9,000 square feet. That's like, wow. The end. No. Think about this in terms of, right? What are you working on? Who are you? Why is it important? Why does the work matter, right? Now, we'll get back to that slide in a second. Another little extra gravy piece here, when you're selling your project, when you're selling anything, and that's what we engineers do, right? We don't like to think of ourselves as salesmen, but when we're presenting information to management, when I present research findings to management, right? I'm kind of selling what I've developed. There may have been a marketing requirement document and it's on the tech roadmap, but and I've got a solution that's going to meld where marketing wants to go, where operations wants to be in terms of, product efficiency, and where management wants to go in terms of the verticals in the organization, what product line and money they want to make, right? And I'm bringing to them a solution. So I'm kind of selling it, right? And when I'm selling it, much like I'm talking to you guys, I do it in a conversational way. Now, obviously, you're going to want to have a script. I will say you will likely want to have a script, right? When you're putting together your YouTube presentation, you're going to want to write down generally what you're going to want to say, because it helps you formulate your thoughts, right? But you want to eventually make it sound conversational. By way of example, accept every project that is offered to you with enthusiasm and do the best job possible. You will earn the big job sooner than you can imagine. There, I just read it. Boy, that sounds exciting, doesn't it? Or, hey man, look, every possible project that comes along, get it with enthusiasm, do the best job you possibly can, and I guarantee you the big jobs will come sooner than you can imagine. Same words, right? One's more conversational than just reading, but you write the stuff down. So it gives you the understanding of your flight plan of where you're going to get from point A to point B. And you'll likely rewrite it a few times because you're going to have it in your head. You're going to write it down and you're going to want to practice this thing out loud, speaking out loud, right? Don't write it down and then wing it. It's going to sound like if you write it down and you go right to print, video, I'm going to write it right on. It's going to sound like maybe you're winging it. Unless you've had some experience with public speaking and doing videos, then those folks, yeah, it's like improv. They can wing it, yes and, right? But for most of us, me included, I need to practice stuff a little bit. And it's not going to sound, it does not sound the same in my head as it does when I speak it. So here's this swirling loop here. There's a learning loop to this whole process, right? There's a learning loop. You write it down, you read it, you listen to it, you see how long it took you. Oh crap, I'm at 7 minutes. I'm going to rewrite it, reread it, re-record it. You'll do this a number of times. And eventually, out loud, practicing it out loud, out of your mouth, right? And have it recorded so you can hear what you're saying. Because that way, you will eventually wind your way through practice, right, to this, the deck of the carrier you have to land on, which is exactly 5 minutes plus or minus 15 seconds long, right? You don't land a plane on a deck of a carrier without a lot of practice, right? And the nice thing is, when you do your YouTube recording, you know, even when you first do your, however you're going to record it, you will see right there how long it's taken. All right. And I am forcing practice here, right? I didn't leave it wide open. I said plus or minus 15 seconds, right? And for every 1 second you are out of the window of plus or minus 5 minutes, plus or minus 15 seconds, you're going to lose a point, which is pretty freaking brutal. That's brutal, right? But it's brutal on purpose. It forces practice. It forces you to land on this carrier deck. It forces you to practice this, which you're going to get good at. This is a skill you're going to leave the class with. Lucky you. All right, so talking about the rubric, talking about points 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and talking about not stepping through them in this order. There's a lot here, but by way of example, some of these things are going to go by wicked fast. Like, for example, facility location and space requirements. Now, here, these words, right, all the words on this page are the rubric really for the written document, for your project. This is the detail that has to go into your project. We talk about the facility location, tell and capture the story in the imagination. You're not going to tell the story and capture the imagination necessarily in your video. You will in your project written down. Again, this is the stuff you have to write, right? But it's also the stuff you're going to talk about, but be mindful of how much time you have. For example, we'll go back to facility location and space requirements. Our facility is located in Ionia, Michigan. It's 9,000 square feet, and it's just next door to the Ionia Free Fair. The Ionia Free Fair, one of the free fairs in the country, ironically placed right next to a prison. There you go. So I told you the facility, the space requirements, I used more words than I needed. How long did it take me? 20 seconds. So I knocked off point 4 and 5 with some extra flourish in 20 seconds, right? The place, company name, it's a broadcast manufacturing. Are you going to, maybe you throw up a picture of the org chart? All right. Maybe you throw up the KPIs. These are our main KPIs. Safety always first, then quality, delivery, productivity, and blah, blah, blah. And our mission statement to satisfy the customer's XYZ needs. The level of detail here is enough to be informative to the audience that will eventually read your project, right? You want to pull the audience in and read your project. When you're in the interview, on the phone interview with HR, you haven't even spoken to the hiring manager yet, and you say, actually, I designed a manufacturing facility to make ventilator controllers in support of the last pandemic. It was a project, but we applied the work from information we got from the University of Florida Medical Center. I would like to share with you the facility I designed. And oh, by the way, I can also send you a YouTube video that introduces the project. It's about 5 minutes long. Really? You got a YouTube video about your plant project? I sure do. Yeah, send that my way. That's what you want out of this, right? This is your promotional piece. So make sure you balance the amount of time you have with the message you want to push forward. Obviously, we're going to talk about executive summary, some of the highlights, as I mentioned. Project description, when this person, me, or anybody else is listening to this, you want to let them know what's going down, why you're there, what it's all about, what the product is, what is a ventilator controller. In the briefest terms, it controls a ventilator to help people breathe so they can survive and not die. All right, you get the idea here, right? Avoid points 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 in that order. Try to be conversational. Practice, listen, practice, listen. All right. If you are delving into these items, if you're talking about your takt time calculation and how you came up with takt time, if you're talking about, if you're showing your work combination sheet, one of them, or if you're talking about an ABC analysis in your video, you have strayed afar. I mean, unless you have a profound reason, like when you graduate from Ferris, all you want to ever do is ABC analyses. You thought that was the coolest thing. You want to be in charge in finance and you want to aim your, well, look, if you want to take some time in your presentation, your video presentation, to talk about an ABC analysis because you want that to be part of your promo piece, I'm fine with that as long as none of these things get missed, right? Okay. Presentation material. It's the same sort of rubric and characteristics I showed 14 weeks ago for the project. You can see here, though, the material is worth 10 points and the video being crisply delivered and professionally sorted out, also worth 10 points. Some guidelines for you. Effective and crisp. You can use PowerPoint as a basis or other professional looking media is acceptable. I have seen people use flip charts for these sorts of things professionally. I mean, they got one of those big flip charts. They had felt tip, big, broad felt tip markers. They had good lighting and they had the big font, right? And they had stuff pasted on the flip charts and they used the flip chart as they talked. I am totally cool with that. I often, and I have for lectures, where is it? I don't have my little, I have this little like plastic graph sheet of paper. It's plasticized. And oftentimes I switch the camera and then you can see me writing. I'm doing an equation. I'm walking through maybe an example of a morphology of a voltage response curve. I'm talking about it, right? Then I flip back to me. Then I flip back to a PowerPoint presentation, right? Page. Now, these sort of interactive aspects of video, they're all professional. The important thing is crisp words, crisp picture, professional looking, able to read your writing. And I have to admit, I have to practice my writing sometimes. And, that's what it is, what it is. And I've never been particularly accurate with my scribbles. This is your project to your potential employer. If done well, it becomes your promo video. I said that already. Goal, you want to supply a reason to be recognized as a degreed engineer from an ABET accredited university and score that promotion or job. That's what you want to get out of this, right? And I would also say business casual. We talked about it before. Avoid logo apparel from the company you're at or other companies, right? A Ferris State logo, completely acceptable. I get that, right? I'm a Ferris grad. I want to wear the bulldog. I'm going down with the bulldog, right? Fine. But avoid, whatever company logo you're at right now. What is business casual? Here is business casual. Now, you may be seeing like me, right? Here's my mug smiling at you as I make your presentation. Collared shirt, the same Argyle sweater you have seen for 14 weeks, right? But I am definitely, is my background particularly professional? Probably would have to do better, right? Let's just be honest here. But for all you know, I could be wearing dress pants, jeans, shorts. Why? Because this is all you're going to see of me in the video. So unless you're doing the flip chart thing where you're back there talking about something with your shirt not tucked in, right? Then you're probably going to be okay business casual from the waist up.
Hey, Professor, got a quick question about that
Yes.
particular part.
Yes.
So for the presentation, do you want a live video of us during the whole thing? Or is just kind of a picture of us at the beginning acceptable? Or?
A picture of you at the beginning is acceptable. A live video in the corner. I've seen some folks put it's almost like a live stream while they're giving the projection, the lecture. They're down there talking with an inset, which is really pretty cool. But I don't want you struggling over that.
Okay, let's say, because it'll be a lot easier to kind of do a bunch of retakes from slide to slide if I don't have to like sync how I look every time.
Yes, I am fine. I am absolutely fine with that. At least once with your smiling mug so they can put a picture face with the name. There you go. Look at that smiling mug. Thank you, Mr. Singer. All
I
right,
have a question.
Mr. Allison, what you got?
Yeah, just in regards to the logo thing.
Yeah.
Like my project is based around like my own logo. Is that
Oh,
acceptable or not?
sure.
Ooh.
Fine. If you own it, it's yours for sure.
All right.
Not a problem. And you know that they know it's a university. Whoever's watching it knows it's a university project, right? You're not selling it as your company. You're selling it as I'm Ferris State University. This is my project. Good question, though. Yes, I could see where that could be a bit confusing from what I was saying. But yes, you could absolutely feel free. And if you have logo apparel for your own company that you're, you know, that may, well, you know, I'm not going to argue with that. Publishing guidelines. So when you go to publish your YouTube video, you will be presented with some choices. It'll be save or publish, right? And it'll see save or publish, right? So, and you have three choices: private, unlisted, and public. There are two and only two acceptable selections on save or publish. It is either public or unlisted. Private is not acceptable. Now I'll get to why that is in a second. What public means is that your video becomes keyword searchable. If you throw in some keywords, some metadata with your video, there may also be some algorithms that YouTube uses to pick out your language and your words that also become embedded metadata. There may be some work they do with whatever print is on your slides that also ends up becoming embedded metadata. This metadata then becomes searchable through Google's API search engine to the world. So if you want it to be publicly searchable, and people type in you and your name and Ferris and MFGE 422 and ventilator controller, your video might pop up. All right. Unlisted means the metadata is all there. They automate that API happens whether you want it to or not, right? You don't get a choice, but it is not searchable. It's not searchable, which means if I type all that stuff in, I won't find your video. The only way I will find your video is if you send somebody the text of your link, which is what you'll be doing, right? The HTTP good buddy video link that says share, when YouTube asks you if you want to share your link, you're going to copy that alphabet soup, and that's what you're going to paste into your Canvas text. You may want to embed the video as a web link, and you may also want to put it in your project someplace. So you've carpet bombed me. I'll get to that slide in a second. All right. Private, no bueno on the private. And here's why. You have to publicly whitelist somebody to be. So even if you sent me your YouTube address for your video, if I wasn't invited, if I wasn't whitelisted, I could type that in and it wouldn't show up. I would not have access to it unless I was approved. Now, you get why people might want to do that, right? Some people make money selling access to their YouTube videos. They sell classes online, right? And they are going to allow you a certain amount of time to view that video. They will give you your whitelist, and they can do it all automatically. You send them, a 1/100th of a Bitcoin, and they give you a year's worth of access, whitelisted access to their video. And after 365 days are up, you are wiped off the whitelist. You go ahead and type that. You have been there 1,000 times before. You go ahead and type that thing in, and you're gone. You can't see it again. That's a really good way to monetize if you're so inclined your video. You can actually do that. Don't do that here, because if I can't see it, If you privately list it and forget to whitelist me, I don't want to screw with that. If I can't get your video, I'm going to assume you didn't turn it in. So make double, make triple, make quadruple sure whatever link you give me freaking works. So in the start assignment, this is what you will see when you go to put your assignment in, your project, all right? You'll have an upload a file opening, right? Where you can put all your project docs in there. You'll have a text entry box where you can give me a parting shot if you like. And you have a website URL. You can either toss that video in the website URL. I would say do both if you want. Toss the website video in the URL and also put this web link into that text box. Do both. That way you make sure and I make sure I can get at it. All right. Questions? We're almost done here. Remember I said slide 15? And we're at slide 14. You know what's about to happen?
Yeah. So I have a question.
What's that?
I got a question. So when you say like submit project docs, you just mean submit the one document that has all of our stuff in it, or submit everything that we've worked on ever?
Oh, Lord, no. So you're going to for sure send me either your Word or your PowerPoint or whatever, your project, the project. You're going to for sure submit that, right?
Okay. Okay.
You may have some spreadsheets that you've been working on, right? That you are also free to submit. It's like, here's some of the data I'm looking at. This is where my ABC, and I'll see it. Oh, there's his ABC analysis. There's her PQPR. There's his manufacturing sequence chart. I can see the grist that went into the mill that became your project. You don't have to do that. I'm grading you only on the project. But should you want to offer other stuff up in there, feel free. Absolutely feel free. If I have some questions, it might be helpful to be able to give an answer, because I'm going to go through this stuff. If I see an oops, and then I can go back and say, oh, I see where that oops occurred. It was a math error in the spreadsheet. Okay, I get what happened. Or no, this is an oops, and I have no idea if they even had the concept down or not. I have no idea where that number doesn't make any sense to me. Right? So now that I want to spend, I have 30 projects across 2 classes to grade. Not that I'm complaining, it's my job. The university is paying me to do that, but there's a finite amount of time, it's going to take for me to do that. So I don't want to spend, an hour. Actually, I would not be surprised if it takes me an hour per project, at least 45 minutes per project. I would not be a bit surprised about that. That's kind of what I'm girding myself for, inclusive of watching your video. I'm going to watch the video and then dive into your project, just like anybody would. Oh, there's a video. There's my video introduction, and now I'm going to go into the project. That's the process.
So Hank, like we could upload like a manufacturing sequence chart, to help you see it a little bit better, because it might be shrunk down to size on a Word document, right?
Yeah,
it'd probably be a good example, right?
That's a good example. Questions?
I have one for
Mr. Riddick.
I have not taken an English class in probably think like 10 or more years. For the citations page,
Yeah.
while we go through it, say I stole an image from a website, on that page where the image is displayed, is there a particular text I should put on that page, or do I just reference it in the citations page that says on page 3 there's an image of?
Yeah, don't go nuts. Just, if it's something you grabbed, just say page, just by your citations will be by page, what you grabbed.
Okay.
You give me a clue at what it was and where you found it. And
Okay.
a lot of times when you go find stuff on the websites, you have no idea where that person got the image from.
True.
I guess it's like the Wild West, man. So just do the best you can. I'm not
Okay.
going to be going and saying, you have not provided the Dewey Decimal equivalency for the ISBN number. I am very offended. I'm not going to do that. All right.
Cool.
Yeah. Other questions?
Is it okay if we put the citation under the image?
Yes, that's fine. I'm
Okay.
okay with that too.
Perfect.
That's fine. Done and dusted, right?
Hank, I had another one. You had talked about a few slides back, not referencing like items 6 through 20 or whatever. But I was kind of, I kind of wanted to talk about how many ventilator controllers I want to produce per year, right? Which is kind of, there's some tack time calculation involved with that, but I mean, I won't spend a lot of time getting into the nitty-gritty details, but
Right.
I mean,
Well, here it's right here in number 2, right? What's your team? Well, you need to make some statement about why you're engaging in the project. What markets and volumes will you be serving? You're going to say that. You're going to be offering your sale price and total cost estimates quickly, right? Might be on a single slide. I mean, you still have to, this is information you still have to give, right? But not to the detail that it would be on the page from your project.
got it. Okay.
Yes.
You're not
Yes.
looking, yeah, you just don't want us to go into like the nitty-gritty math behind it. You can just
Don't
say,
do that.
yep, I need to produce 108 ventilator controllers per day or whatever, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, you're servicing the Great Lakes region. You know that there are 765,000 first, whatever hospitals in the area. Yeah. You know that 20% of those, the FDA has contracted for a 20% refurb for the next 5 years. Right? You know that, which means my facility will be producing one ventilator controller every 108 minutes on a 3-shift operation. Bam. I mean, I said that in like less than 30 seconds. And while you're talking, up comes the Great Lakes, right? Then up comes a bunch of doctors looking at you in a picture. That was citation. And then up, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna have a role. You can have a role to it. Absolutely. Other questions?
What are we going to be doing next week?
Excellent question. So, you're going to turn in, obviously. When we meet next week, I'll just be here to any questions, commentary, we do have a final exam coming. If there are questions about the final exam, be more than happy to answer those that I can. And then I think that's pretty much it. You will in the week after that, you guys will take the final online. Right? Don't forget, I think teacher evaluations are also somewhere due. So your chance to offer commentary for the class and for me. I know you guys have had me before, most of you, so you kind of knew what you were in for. You said, shit.
Is next week's lecture optional, or are you still
completely optional? You don't want to show up, you don't got to show up. So this could be our parting of ways. I'll see you again. Maybe I'll see you at Myers. Occasionally I see students around town.
And then the final exam, is that going to be like the same kind of time limit and like it was for the midterms, like you turn it on at 5:30 and we have, what was it, 3 hours to complete it or whatever?
It is exactly the same time frame.
Okay.
It is different for the most part than the midterm was in a lot of respects. I figured how many questions there are, but there's a series of questions you'll have to answer. But you'll answer them by adding pages onto the back. In the midterm, you had a spot to answer each question, right? As you went. This one, questions are all up front, and then you'll answer them as you go. mean, you'll figure it out. It's a Word document. You can put the answers wherever you want, as long as I can find them. You know what I'm saying? So yes. It will not take you 3 hours. Honestly, there's no possible way it can take you 3 hours.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Other questions, comments?
I do have another one regarding the combo sheets
Go for it.
as well, because I know we obviously had.
Do you want to share? I mean,
yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I got it pulled up, and I just, based on the midterm exam results, I want to make sure that I did this right. So,
well, I got to answer a question here, Mr. Christensen. Do you want us to submit all of our project docs? It's optional. It's optional. I answered that, but I want to make sure, Mr. Christensen, you got your question answered. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Bridger, for interrupting you. Let me go ahead and multiple. There we go. All right. Yeah, Mr. Christensen, you're good. You're all set.
So I know on the midterm there was a lot of like discussion on like this machine cycle time and stuff, right? So
Yep.
This is my mold, trim, and deburr cell, and I originally had these broken up, but I guess, like, you know, the operator's going to remove the parts. It's going to take them 5 seconds, and then they're going to hit start,
and they're going to walk.
She's going to take 30 seconds, right? So
Yeah.
They're not, the way this is laid out, right? This is not telling you that they're sitting at the machine for 30 seconds, right?
Correct. It is not,
Okay.
because I see what they're doing. It's just what you said. They have now the machine is waiting for them,
Sure.
potentially.
Sure.
They could be in the middle of a cycle, right? But we're saying no. Remove the parts from the machine, from the mold machine. So the door is open and the machine's not running. The machine's waiting for the operator to unload that part for 5 seconds, right? And then you're going to hit cycle start and you're going to walk 5 seconds to the next trim flash. No, I totally get that. You're trimming, whatever, you may be loading it into something, right? And then there could be a load and then a cycle start, right? Or something. There's a combination of manual and machine going on there, right? Or they're waiting. There could be a little bit of a wait, but it's basically attended, right? You're waiting for 10 seconds, or you're doing some work for 10 seconds. There's a 5-second interaction with the machine, right? But to finish that operation, whatever they're doing, the trim flash takes 15 seconds. This is sufficient. You don't have to go in a lot more detail on this. I mean, you could swing this 1,000 different ways, right? But I get, generally speaking, this makes complete sense.
And then, so the other question I had, and honestly, I kind of guessed on these tumble deburr times, and I'm hoping you're not going to pick me apart on that.
I am not going to pick. If you gave me a 1 second walk, I might be questioning it. But no, guys, folks, there's
that's
no
what
problem
I figured.
with these times.
Yeah. So, I did want to have 2 tumble deburr machines, and I picked, they'd be in there for 80 seconds or whatever. But because I have 2 machines with overlapping cycle times, I divided that 80 seconds to get 40?
That's what I would do.
Okay.
That's exactly what I would do. Because it's 40 seconds worth of machine content, because you've dual tooled it independently of how the machines are staggered when they start and stop. Now, there in real life, there could be some waits, there could be some task interference. There's a lot that can happen there, right? But for the project, for what you're doing, this is sufficient. This is absolutely sufficient. I totally get what you got going down there. Anybody would, right? Any industrial engineer would look at this and say, okay, I get it.
All right.
I get what he's laying down.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I have a few more that are laid out that way, but all right. Yeah, no, that's glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, this looks good, man. Nothing wrong with that. Other questions? I would say that we've already had one project turned in. The whole kit and caboodle, the project, the video, everything.
Who was
Done
it?
and
Who
done
was
and
it?
dusted. Now
Michael,
I have not. The only thing I did was make sure that video was working so that I knew that my instructions to you worked correctly. So the student supplied me at the text, in the text entry, the text of the YouTube video. I cut and pasted that into my browser. Up popped the video. It started. I stopped it. I didn't watch it. It's like, okay, good. It's working. So the instructions, I watched it only to make sure the instructions I gave to you were successful, and they were, at least in this case. And I did not look at the project. I don't want to do that. I'm going to make sure that when they're all open, because what I do is I kind of bounce back and forth and kind of calibrate, okay, how much of a butthead do I need to be here, right? How are things, because part of what you return to me is based on some of what I said in some of my instruction. And if my instruction was quite frankly crap, and I begin to see a theme across all of the projects, that there's sort of a miss in one area, I don't blame, if it's a universal, the students are missing this topic, I don't blame the students. I blame the professor, right?
And guys, we should have all planned to all give 60%.
You could have maybe colluded. That'd be a tough one to hold together, I gotta tell you. So anyway, yeah, maybe I'm oversharing. So I do kind of want to begin to, okay, so yeah, folks are getting it. Okay, now that calibrates me where my grading should begin. So I don't want to start with one person way up front with everybody else. But I can tell you,
don't start with a Mike Otto to make the rest of us look bad.
I will not say, but I would say that student is probably feeling pretty good right now. How you will all be feeling very soon, I'm sure, when you have this done and dusted. Other questions? Did I mention, I think I did, but I might not have. So I had forgotten to record Tuesday night's lecture for the Tuesday night class. So I promised them that I would share this recording with them so they can at least have the lecture available to them. So they're hearing what you guys are hearing this time. Usually, it's two different lectures, two different recordings, but it's got to be dual duty this week. My bad. I don't know. I was just like, we were like almost done, and I realized, oh crap, I forgot to start the record button. So happens. I'm getting old and forgetful. Yeah. Other questions? Do you all just want to be done with me? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I think we're all planning on showing up next week for like a final goodbye. But I think at this point we're all kind of done with we're all kind of committed. So
you know what you got to do, right? Yeah.
If we haven't pretty much gotten there by this point, we're in trouble.
There's Mr. Singer. There's some truth to that. Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm done blathering at you until next week. So work hard this weekend. You'll hammer it out. If you got questions, I'm still monitoring the discussion board. I'm trying to answer questions once a day, maybe twice a day, best I can. So questions haven't been that many. I think most people got it where they got to be. So, but anyway, feel free, if you got a discussion point you want me to answer, do post it to Canvas and I will get at it. So with that, I'll just hang out until you guys have questions, or you bounce. And do people still say bounce? Is that a thing?
yes.
Okay. Because I know stuff can still be dope, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Depends on what you're talking about.
That movie was dope. Gotta bounce, man. I'm not poking fun at anybody. I'm just poking fun at myself here. All right. So anyway,
All right. Well, goodbye, everyone. I will see you all next week, Thursday, on the flip side.
all right.
See you guys.
Ciao.
See you guys.
All right, see you guys.
Adios.
Oh, probably be last.
You're still gonna be the last one, Mr. Britter.
I don't know. Trying to get my mouse clicked. You want to talk? You want to talk to Hank in private there, Miss Philly?
I sure do.
Do you? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Hank, I don't know that I'll be here next week. Got hockey playoffs. So.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah. So that's why I was really asking about next week. So, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes we start as early as 6:30. So playing 9:30 tonight. So.
I haven't stepped on the ice for a year. It's been a whole year since I've been on the ice.
Right on.
It's bumming me out, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I get another late game, I might hop on. But otherwise, thanks for a good semester, good last semester, and
good.
Hope everything's good for you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You're a great student. You're a pleasure to have in class. Always love your questions.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. We'll see you, Fawn.
Bye, Chad.
Okay, let me stop the recording.
Yes, sir.
How do I do that? Meeting. Stop recording.